Hi, I'm Jeff Bennett. I'm the president of Thrive Analysis Group. We are a consulting company that consults people on building security programs to protect classified information. And I own NISPOM Central, which is our resources for facility security officers, such as books, training, and other tools. And today we're going to talk about now you have your clearance, what next? And this is going to be for those of you who either have a facility security clearance, meaning that your company has a security clearance so that you're authorized to hire cleared defense contractor employees to perform on classified contracts. Or you're in that boat, but you don't have the clearance yet. You're a defense contractor company and you're interested in getting your clearance. So this will talk a little bit about what happens next after you get your clearance. If you have questions about security clearances or conducting self-inspections or training your security staff, please let me know. But primarily this training, and many of the people I work with are cleared defense contractors that have appointed facility security officers. NISPOM requires cleared defense contractors to have insider threat protection officials, facility security officers, and senior management officials. Now, these, in some companies, you might hire somebody to be a full-time insider threat program senior official, and you might hire somebody to be a full-time facility security officer. These are rather larger companies who can afford a full-time person to act in that capacity 8 hours a day, and they may even be able to hire assistants. But many of you are not in that situation. Many of you are company owners, chief engineers, or in the C-suites or senior managers who are appointed as a facility security officer, and you need just a little bit more guidance on how to do your job, how to delegate tasks. And so today is going to be, now that you have your facility security clearance, you've been appointed as a facility security officer. So what is next for you? I start out writing, again, earlier I have NISPOM Central, which supports the books that I publish under Red Bike Publishing. And I start out writing security clearance process and other articles on how to protect classified information. Now I have the pleasure not only doing the writing, but now I provide services that assist companies such as yours. So a lot of what I write about in the services I provide are based on the National Industrial Security Program Operating Manual. And they are reflected in the training resources in the books that I write, such as how to get a U.S. government contracts and classified work, how to establish an insider threat program under NISPOM, and Insider's Guide to Security Clearance. I hope that this video is helpful as it describes what happens after you get your brand new facility security clearance. Once your security clearance is awarded and you are now coordinating with DCSA to appoint a facility security officer and those other two positions I mentioned earlier, how do you do that and what happens next? Once the security clearance is awarded and you begin to work on classified information, your responsibility is now going to be establish that security program to protect classified information. And it's the way that you promised the government customer you would. Now, how did you promise? You signed a non-disclosure agreement called a DD Form 441, and you also received statements of work, hopefully a DD Form 254, which tells you how to perform on those classified contracts. So that's the promise I'm talking about. But sometimes it's not easy to determine what your tasks are. And many of your tasks will be routine and extremely administrative. So that's why we always recommend delegating authority. Not authority, you can't delegate your authority, but you can delegate your tasks, such as initiating people for security clearances, filing reports such as foreign travel reports that all cleared employees are supposed to file if they travel to another country, and putting in visit requests so your employees can go from their location and visit another clear defense contractor or government entity. Those are administrative things that you can definitely delegate to make your life simpler. Other things that you need to be prepared for are how are you going to manage your security program, especially these administrative functions such as the visit requests, the training that you're going to required to provide to your employees. How are you going to do that? Can you use automation to do that? Hopefully you'll be thinking about this and how to implement as you move forward in your security program. Another thing we recommend is building a facility security officer notebook, either online in one of your shared drives or print everything off so it's in a nice folder that you can present when DCSA comes to review. And in there, again, you'll want to have those forms that we talked about just a minute ago, training documents, and basically outline how you're applying your security program to your whole company. And so I hope you look at other videos that I've presented because I hit on each one of those topics. How to do a training program, how to fill out a form, how to identify what is sensitive. So we'll get into more of the eaches in other videos. Perhaps I've already covered them and you've already reviewed them, but this is going to be a more holistic approach. Now that I have my facility clearance, how do I manage it? Preparing for managing it also means preparing to do work with DCSA that you're probably already aware of. And it is your responsibility to not only build the program, but to demonstrate how you're in compliance. Now, this can be done through building and documenting policy and infrastructure. What I mean by that is some of the requirements you're going to have now is building a standards, practices, and procedures for your security program. You'll also be required to develop something called the SEAD 3 program, which talks about how are you going to report security incidents and how are you going to report that employee is going on travel. And additionally, there's also going to be an insider threat program procedure that you'll have to develop as well. Writing procedures, processes, and publishing to build a security conscious DNA within your organization is fundamental. It makes your job easier. So the more thorough and more applicable it is, the better it will be for you as that security manager. Many security programs, especially non-possessing, meaning they're not going to maintain classified information on site, your tasks will be a little bit different. But if you are creating a security program and with a requirement to produce classified information on site, your requirements will include storing classified information, working on it, and how to work on it and maintain it without disclosing it in an unauthorized manner. So as an example, as a written policy explaining education requirements, insider threat reporting, adverse information reporting, and other NISPOM considerations should be enforced with comprehensive training that can lead a cleared facility to success. Can you do this by yourself? It's going to be daunting. So create a program where everybody gives input and figure out what tasks you can delegate and to be able to have other employees do these tasks. Not everything needs to be done by the FSO. The facility security officer should develop and maintain that program, but many of the administrative tasks can be delegated. And again, they can even be delegated to third parties, such as the services that I can provide. I've got agreements with many companies where I handle and build their security programs. And I'll give you an example. Many companies that fall in the small to middle size company range, again, are the ones that don't usually hire full-time FSOs. They appoint those FSOs. In many cases, those FSOs are one key person with already a lot to do, and they handle these tasks single-handedly, and they don't leverage other organizations such as human capital or human resources or the IT department to automate their processes. They do all the visit requests by themselves, not realizing that they can delegate those to other employees. And so some issues that I see are that the senior person that is the facility security officer does not have the credentials to log in. Their CAT cards don't have certificates, so they have to spend additional time going to get new CACs or going to get certifications that will allow them to have access to government websites. So you can delegate those. Another issue that I see are that sometimes those key persons either get promoted out of the issue, get moved to another location, retire, or take another job with another company. They're the single point of failure in the security program because they leave with all the credentials and nobody else is able to step in and take over. And a lot of times that's how I get hired. They want somebody to come in and be able to fill that space and train up a new facility security officer or an assistant facility security officer to take over. So if you have those kind of needs or those kind of concerns, please get in touch with me. My contact information is in the notes. You can also visit thriveanalysis.com. However, a possessing facility, which is different, you've got to take in consideration all that classified information and items that you'll be storing on site. You will need additional and extensive infrastructure considerations. That requires reviewing the 254, the DD Form 254, which tells how you will operate, what level of classification will be stored on your site, and how you will protect it. Now, this may mean if you're inheriting 1,000 documents, you have to get security containers. If you're going to do classified processing, you'll have to build a classified network and get it approved by the government. And potentially you might have to dedicate space and build an area where you can have open storage of classified information, which requires building vaults, getting alarms, and that kind of thing. So you want to count the cost before you go into this type of business and be able to calculate it when you win that contract. So once you establish your best way forward and implement the security policy and the infrastructure, it'll be time to inspect it. How do you know how well you're doing? So now I'm talking about the required self-inspection that defense contractors are to do. And when they're finished, they upload that inspection into the government provided network because it's a requirement, and DCSA will be reviewing that inspection. The way you do that self-inspection is downloading the self-inspection handbook for NISP contractors. Now, you can do this self-inspection anytime, and it's a good idea to bring it down when you first get your clearance because it tells you what to do and how to do it through a series of questions. Now, additionally, whether or not you apply before you get your contract or after you get your contract, the next step is to absolutely go through that self-inspection handbook and give yourself a rating. Again, this is one of those things that can be delegated to somebody in your organization, or you can get a third party to do that audit for you. Again, I'm willing to do that if you contact me. So go through that handbook. If you want to know how to do it, we have other videos on how to do that self-inspection. So use the handbook and all of the information and tips inside that handbook to get prepared to receive and protect that classified information. So in conclusion, congratulations. You've got your clearance or you're working towards getting that. There's a lot of work to be done. Building that FSO notebook helps you document that work to be done. Some of the work that is done is training your insider threat protection senior official and the facility security officer are required to go through NISPOM required training. Hit me up and I'll show you where to get that training, and I can help you with that training as well. Additionally, you will need to train all your employees on how to protect classified information initially and annually after that. And there are other training program requirements for your cleared defense contractors. And so establish that, count the costs, right? Look at your 254 and see how your company is required to operate on classified information. Is it in-house or is it at an external organization? Those are just some consideration. Again, visit our videos, look at our website, follow me on LinkedIn for more tips.